Guys, was I wrong about the silent recession? Reports just came out on 3.3% growth versus 2.0% expected. A massive beat. So what does that mean for the economy going forward? What does that mean for everybody who's looking forward to rate hikes? There's a lot of data and a lot of things to understand. Let's delve into that right now. These are the last quarters going back to the first quarter of 2021. Now, obviously, this was coming off of COVID. So we're comparing these numbers to COVID numbers. But we had some negative growth. Technically, this is a recession, 2 quarters in a row of negative growth, but we didn't call it that. And then we've had some pretty stable growth with a big jump in the third quarter of last year. Now, remember, guys, the markets are expecting a lot of interest rate cuts this year. I guess my question is, why would the Fed cut interest rates if GDP is doing better than expected? The Fed cuts rates when they're trying to boost the economy, not keep the economy tapered. If the economy is growing like crazy, is that keeping prices low or high? Well, it's keeping prices higher. What are prices that are higher? It's inflation. This is where I'm really confused because the data here is showing me, Paul, the economy is doing great. We did 3.3% growth last quarter, which was way higher than that 2.0%. I cannot stress this enough. The economists were expecting 2.0% real GDP growth, and they got 3.3%. That's 65% higher than expectation. And that's, you have to add inflation in here to get the nominal growth. So I look at this saying, so why would Powell cut rates? Well, for one thing, public pressure, right? People expect rate cuts. I've been reading up to 7 rate cuts this year. And there was one person out there that I read said, hey, listen, pump the brakes on your rate cut ideas. It might happen this year, but if they do cut rates, it's because the economy is slowed. So if the economy is booming, what would you rather have? Would you rather have the economy booming with higher interest rates or the economy declining with lower interest rates? That's what you have to ask yourself. Because an economy booming, and let's say they came in at 10% GDP growth, that is, everybody's making more money, goods are being in demand, all these things are happening. Now, it's not changing the fact that what I said last week is still true. There are still subprime auto loan issues. There are still delinquency issues on credit cards. There's still a lot of real estate issues in terms of commercial real estate loans having problems. Is this the calm before the storm? I don't know. Now, the good news is, long term, the economy is going to do great. We're an innovative society. We're a growing society. We believe we have a very diverse group of jobs here, very diverse group of businesses. But for me to look at this and say, this is great news, which the market reacted that way. The market immediately shot up when this came out, which confused me because I said, wait, I thought the market wanted lower interest rates. This is not going to give you lower interest rates. It absolutely will not. In history, when has the Fed cut interest rates? When the economy is booming? No, not at all. There's no reason to spur the economy more when it's already growing. And the Fed has already talked about their fear of higher inflation. Their core inflation is still way higher, 3.9% versus the 2% goal. This is not helping that. This does not help that. Now, this is one of those situations where you sit there and listen to me and say, Paul, are you negative on this? No, this is wonderful. I'm glad the economy is doing well. I'm just trying to tell you, what I'm trying to relay is, why would the Fed cut rates? And I'm fully open to any ideas as to why they would. And if they do it just because of public pressure, shame on them. Because in the last year, part of the reason why this probably went up, how did the market do in the last 6 months? Stock market makes everybody feel very warm and fuzzy inside. Even if you don't own stocks, you see people around you doing well. You might sit there and say, listen, let's put more on the credit card. Things are going great. We're going to make more money. So guys, what makes this all become a moot point? Well, the one thing I'm not factoring in is the government printing more and more money. And you might sit there and say, why aren't you factoring that in? Because they just keep doing that. If they keep printing money, they can keep kicking that can down the road. Will it eventually have repercussions? Absolutely. But at that point, Fed Chair Powell, the U.S. Treasury, everybody in Congress, they don't want bad things to happen on their watch. So they can buy a little bit more time by printing more money. It kicks the can down the road. But when you print more money, what happens? That's inflation. The devaluing of the dollar is inflation. That is the big thing that I'm not sitting there saying, maybe this is how they get out of this forever. But forever can't happen. Look at all the countries in the world that have ever printed money. It ends up biting them in the butt eventually. And If they keep doing that, you should absolutely expect higher inflation for a long period of time, which means higher interest rates. That's why I was so confused by this whole report. This is just going in so many different directions. You sit there and say, maybe we just don't care and we just want to kick the can down the road further. That very well could be the case. So we're coming up close to the next Fed decision. But going forward, the things I want to do to sit there and look at where the economy is going is, I want to see how are the delinquencies going on credit cards? How are the balances growing on credit cards? Are they growing at a faster clip than GDP growth? That to me will tell me, hey, things are not going great, or things are going, or it's just like paying your mortgage with a credit card and just waiting for something to happen. I don't know. But the Fed decision next week, in the upcoming weeks, is going to be very important to see what's going on. The European Central Bank just kept rates the same. And people are not expecting the Fed to lower rates until a few months from now. But still, we want to sit there and see where core inflation is coming in and all these other metrics that will help guide where the economy is going. But remember, guys, your job is a dollar cost average into low cost ETFs, because in the last 50 years, there have been so many things that have happened that were bad, and the market keeps going up. I was born in July of 81. August of 82 was the low of the market. The S&P was on 110. It is now at 4,900. So in those 40 years, what have we seen? You can just imagine the wars, the crises, the financial meltdowns, the stock market crashes, and guess what? You're still up with dividends over 50 times your money. That's the key there. Don't try to guess what's going to happen here and there. Just use it as a way to prepare yourself for, I don't like shocks to me. Like, okay, are things great? Are things not great? This says things are great. But I just want you to understand how these things all work together. And I hope I'm wrong about last week when I said, hey, consumers, they're kind of living on the edge. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't expect a great recession again. But at the same point, are things as rosy as people make them out to be? Usually not. Just like when things are bad, I'll be the guy saying, guys, they're not as bad as you expect them to be, just like I was thinking back at COVID. So these are the things that matter to me. But of course, I want to make videos that matter to you. So guys, below in the comments, write there on things that you think I'm not looking at and I should look at, and other videos you want me to do based on the economy, because these things do matter, but not all data points are very important. Thank you very much for your time.